game. Time to play the game.
Hey guys, welcome to the Toe Knows Everything podcast. This week I'm super pumped and excited to have an amazing guest on our show. We're going to be talking about comedy, entrepreneurship, social media, and the impact that this gentleman has had on the Italian, Canadian, American, and worldwide community. I am thrilled to have Mr. Giuseppe, the MC, here in the house at Bond SPORTSPLEX 2. Giuseppe,
hey, Tom, thanks
welcome,
for having me,
brother.
man. I really appreciate it. Hey, guys.
So, like I said, I'm super stoked and excited to have you here because I want to talk about so much. There's so much that you've done, and we've seen you all over social media. We've seen the rise of Giuseppe the MC. You've absolutely blown up in the last couple of years, all over Instagram. I just saw you on Omni Television. They did basically a bio on your life. So You are the rising star of comedy here in Canada and all over the world. Like, you were just in England, you did an Australia tour. I know you're going to New York. So really international. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get a chance to really hear about Giuseppe and what he's done to get to this point and where he's going, because I know he's going to blow up in the next couple of years. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Well, listen, thank you so much for having me. And you know what? It has been a great couple of years. I've really honed in on my craft based on where I'm from and my family. And the biggest thing that I've had is support, and you know, mediums like this is so important to me, and I'm so happy you're having me on your show today. Thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate it.
We love having you here. So I want to get to know you a little bit. We got to tell our viewers, who are you? Where did you grow up? Where did you come from? Before we get into all the other entertainment type stuff, tell me who you are.
Okay, so my actual name is Giuseppe Maleca. I'm, but I go by Giuseppe the MC, as you indicated. I live in Toronto. I grew up in Etobicoke my whole life. I still live in the area, about 1.5 kilometers from my mother's. I couldn't go too far from her. Make sure that
she's a Calabrese mother,
she's
right?
a Calabrese mother, and she's whenever I'm feeling a little hungrier, I head over to my mom's house. And I went to high school in the area, Don Bosco. And that's where everything kind of started for me. They had a great theater, and I was doing stuff on stage. I was president.
So you were involved in drama.
Oh
theater,
yeah. I wasn't so. Yeah, I was more so. I was the president of the school, and so that gave me the opportunity to be on stage a lot. I was always on a microphone, and we got to do skits at the Christmas and end of the year assemblies. They were called the end of the year Christmas assembly. And that's where I started to discover this persona that I have.
So the Giuseppe the MC persona was being developed in high school, maybe without you even knowing it.
That's right. And I will honestly say about over 25 years ago. Right,
wow.
I'm about to hit 42.
That's
so
incredible.
I think from 14, 15 years old, that's when it all started.
So you're a first-generation Canadian. Your parents are Italian immigrants from Calabria.
That's right.
I know you're from Salerno. That's a deep south of Calabria.
Very deep
right
south.
On Cosendino, so we're the north. You're the south.
Yeah, you're the north. No, but exactly. I'm from. My family's from Salerno, and Salerno has boroughs like Toronto does. So I'm from the Etobicoke of Salerno, which is called Venerello. Venerello is a beautiful village, which has roughly now 300 inhabitants, maybe at max.
So maybe more are here in Toronto. Left behind.
There is way more. In fact, in the Neza community, the whole city holds about 18,000. Here in Ontario, there's 8,000 from the town.
Wow.
Right? So generations broken up. But I love where I'm from. Being married, I've been to Italy several times. And my wife's like, oh, let's tour. Let's go to the north. Let's go to the south. Let's go to see the Fontana of this and go to the whatever. And I'm like, no, I want to go to my town. And that's it. I just want to be with my family.
So would you say your Calabrese and your Sidonese heritage contributed to who you are? Like, I see it in your act.
Yeah.
But just let the people know, like, what has it done to influence you?
So, the Sidonese community is a very strong community.
Right.
And even from my village, I say Venerello. First off, my show, which is my performances that I speak a lot in dialect, is specifically that dialect.
Right.
So even, sometimes I post these videos online called Calabrese Phrases of the Day.
Right.
And so I'll get people from Cosenza saying, wait a minute, that's not Calabrese.
Right.
And I get it. It's a different dialect. And, you know, Calabria is broken up into so many different regions, beautiful regions. All of Italy is, to be honest. And I find that for me, I'm very connected. I proudly say where I'm from, where my family's from all the time, because it has molded me to be the person that I am on stage and off stage.
That's amazing, especially since you're from Etobicoke. Etobicoke is considered like the white Anglo part of the city.
Yeah.
So you stick out, sort of.
Yeah. No, and it's great, man.
That's amazing.
I love it. I love it.
So you're in high school, you're at Don Bosco, you're the president of the student council, you're involved in everything, you're starting to develop this character. Where do you go from there?
So it's funny. So in high school, again, I because I became president, I happen to have the power of the microphone a lot more often than the rest of the students.
Right.
So I took advantage of that, not, you know, knowing that I was going to be on stage one day, but, you know, I always wanted their experience to be an incredible experience, to have, if I'm going to be on a microphone, I just don't want to be the tough guy saying, you know, like, you know, be this and be that. I wanted them to laugh every single time I was on a microphone. And it was
so even back then, comedy was important.
It was very important. It was very important.
Humor.
It was, because when I was on stage in the auditorium at my high school, when I got that first laugh, it was 800 students laughing, and I felt this rush through my body. I said, "Man, I like this."
You felt the energy of the people.
Yeah, I like this a lot. And it just, I couldn't wait for the next thing, the next thing I had to say, the next performance, exactly.
Right.
And so when high school ended, man, it was like from here to here, because I went to university and I was literally, I felt like a number. I didn't even feel like a person anymore. You know, I was just herds of sheep of people going to class, going to the next thing. I had books as thick as this box, studying all the time, and I'm like, I felt like a loss in my life. I truly did. I felt empty inside. And around that time, a couple years into being into university, a very good friend of mine was managing a fashion show, preparing a fashion show for children with disabilities. And so he got everybody. We were all working in different banquet halls. I was working at the Royalton at the time. He was working at.
So you did the circuit. Everyone did the banquet.
Yeah. There was he was at not the Jewel Dynasty. That's right. And so all the young kids in Vaughan, I was living in Etobicoke though. They were all working in these banquet halls, and so I joined this group because I was working them, and I became friends with all of them. And then one of them, this guy, his name is Louis. He was managing this fashion show for children, and I heard that they were putting the show together. They didn't really know who I was or what I did in the past. I put up my hand and said, "Hey, you know, I can MC your event." And it was almost like I wasn't brushed off, but it was like, yeah, okay, whatever, buddy, whoever you are. But then eventually I just kept pushing them, say, look, I can really MC this event for you.
You were persistent. So
yes, that's right.
You didn't have a name as an MC at the time.
No,
You're a young university kid. You're working in banquet halls. But you knew that was something you wanted to do, and you persisted and you pursued it.
Exactly. And finally he gave me a shot, and which was great because he ended up becoming my best friend. So, but at the time he gave me a shot, and I said, look, I will do this for you, but you got to give me 5 minutes on stage to perform.
Wow.
It was just something in my heart. I said, I want to do...
Where did that come from? Because obviously, you know, you might have known you wanted to MC, but to tell them, I need the 5 minutes on stage, I need that platform. Where did that come from?
You know what it is? Because I found humor in my family, with my mom and my dad, I said, I got to tell people about this.
Right.
So besides telling it amongst us at Christmas time with my cousins and Easter time with my cousins, like we'd all laugh making fun of my parents, my aunts, my uncles, whatever. I'm like, more people got to know this. This can't be just me.
Right.
And so they're like, you know what? That's actually a good idea because the fashion show, the kids needed time to change from one outfit to the next. So I had to kill 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time.
So perfect opportunity.
So they said, you know what? We're going to give you more time than that.
Wow.
Because you need to stall. Perfect. So I would find little stories that were 5 minutes long, 5 or 6 or 7 of them, to perform in between the scenes of the fashion show. And that's really the initiation of Giuseppe the MC.
So what was the reaction of those people that first time you were at that fashion show, you're emceeing, and then they give you 2 minutes to fill in? What was their reaction?
It was, first off, the laughter was amazing. And secondly, I felt it to be more real than when it was back in high school. Because in high school kids were great, but I don't know what they were laughing at. Right, because it was like the whole show they were laughing at, with to the other
Whatever
acts and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But these were more adults. These were people that paid to come to that event.
Right.
They were helping support the event. And I'm like, wow, I'm making people laugh at a paid function.
And telling personal stories about your mom or family or whoever.
Exactly.
So would you say that Calabrese people generally have laughter and humor in their families?
I mean, I would say that, being a fellow Calabrese like yourself. But, I think every family has that in them. I just know how to identify on the Calabrese side.
Right.
I know our dialect is very strong. So much so that somebody from the north or somebody from even a few towns over
might not get it.
And so, but that's one side of it all. But the other side is, that relationship that I have with my mother and my father, but more the mother. I'll admit 100% I am a mama's boy to the T. Through and through. You could put that on a shirt,
mama.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
And the stories that I have about how my mother reacted to things are priceless. She's a worrywart through and through, like her mother was.
Like all Calabrese women.
Yeah. And I'm just like, man, people got to know about this.
Absolutely.
And what I found was when I was sharing these stories, people were coming up to me after the show and said, you know what, my mom did that. Or my mom didn't do exactly that, but she did this. So they were telling me stories. And I'm like, you know what? People really resonate with true life stories. I've never made up anything in my life on stage. Never.
So they could relate to all your true stories.
Exactly.
That's amazing. So that's your first taste of emceeing, being on stage, your own comedy.
That's right.
Where do you go from there? Because I know you got into the car business and finance and...
So there's Fantasy World, which was that, and then there's reality. And reality was that I didn't know that I could make a career in entertainment.
Right.
There are entertainers, but those always one in a million kind of situations, right? And I didn't run away from home at 16, 17 years old to go to Hollywood.
Dream in Hollywood.
Yeah. I'm like, you know what? I
gotta take the safe route of my parents, so I'm gonna
exactly.
go to school, get a job.
I like. There's two parts. There's the entertainers like to go that route, but I also like the family values.
That's right.
I dreamt of having a wife and children and to give them a place to live and support. Because my dad did that for me, and his dad did that for him, and so on and so forth. So it was a bit of that macho kind of thing, right? So that was the
model you had. And Calabrese people being tight-knit, family-oriented people.
That's right.
That's what you wanted to preserve for yourself and your future.
Exactly. So, I graduated from university. I started off in engineering. That didn't work. Let's just put it that way. But then I ended up moving into finance, which worked out a lot better for me. And, I was working at the bank throughout high school. I was working at a bank, and then when I graduated, I actually stumbled upon the car business. My cousin who was selling cars, he says, "Oh, you got to become a finance manager in a car dealership. It's exactly what you studied." Okay. And so I'm like, okay, this sounds good. You're gonna make $100,000 a year, and they're gonna give you a free car. I'm like, why not? Why not do this? Everything was right except for what I studied. What I studied in school had nothing to do with the car business.
So your formal education didn't relate to what you were going to do?
No. But that job was probably the best job that I could have ever had leading out of high school, because it taught me how to speak to people.
Right.
Every day, 10 times a day. I was selling product. I was selling rust proofing. I was selling warranties. I was selling insurance. I was that guy that you go sit down and do your documents with. And then I was selling contracts. Like, so somebody applies for a loan.
Right.
You have to convince the bank to approve that person, because not everybody has great credit.
Right?
Yep. And, so I was selling them that. Then the bank would say, no, you can't I won't approve you for this much, but I'll approve you for this much. So then I have to sell back to the customer, hey, you know what, you can't afford $500 a month, but you can afford $450. So here, why don't you switch into this car? I was constantly selling.
So you honed your skills as a
That's
salesperson.
Right. That's
and
right.
That's something that I tell people all the time.
That's
It doesn't
right.
matter what kind of education you have, an MBA, a BA, or whatever it is. The best skill to learn is to sell. And you said it, you know, car dealerships are an amazing place for young men and women to work.
That's right.
Because like you said, you learn how to sell. You're talking about credit. You're convincing bankers, finance companies.
That's right.
You're selling customers, husbands, wives. So obviously that was great experience for you.
Exactly. And sometimes you're selling product to people that they don't know if they want it or not. That is sales. Sales is convincing someone that they need this product.
Right.
So if I didn't learn how to sell, I would not have the career I have today. I'm great on stage. I know this. I know a lot of comedians that are great on stage, but the successful ones are the ones who know how to sell.
That's it.
Because they know how to chase, they know how to find the business. I know comedians today that are still sitting at home doing nothing. They're still performing in little clubs for 20 people, and they get excited that they got fed chicken wings.
Yeah.
That's their pay. And they're like, oh man, they fed me tonight. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're funnier than I am. You should be on stage. Do this, do this, do this. But they just can't.
So I think you hit the nail on the head. So this whole show is premised on entrepreneurship, sports, et cetera, et cetera. But if you can't sell what you have, what your skill is, or what your talent is, you're going to do nothing with it. You could have all the talent in the world, but if people don't know about it and you don't get the message out there and you don't get people to accept that message, it's useless.
Exactly. I find the performances that I do the fun part. That is what they paid for, the product.
Right.
But I needed to find a way to get people there.
Right.
And that's the chase. That's the dream. That is the job. The job is to sell what I'm selling.
That's it.
If you don't sell what you're selling, you got nothing. Then you're just going to be, oh, I know this really funny guy.
So I would say that's probably your secret to success, because
That's right.
I know you're an amazing salesman. Funny as hell, but an amazing salesman.
Thank you.
And you honed those skills in that car dealership.
That's
you
right.
got to practice those skills.
That's right.
So where did you go from there? So before we get into the social media and
of course.
the skits about your
Yeah, that
mom,
all came out later.
Where did you go from the dealership and selling?
So during the dealership years, I would always do a show, these fashion shows. Right. Every now and then I would get picked up to MC an event. I never charged. Never. For me, it wasn't about the money.
Freebies. All freebies.
Always. And I'll tell you why. But I always did it for free, and I just wanted to get out there. So I would make sure after I left that last event, hey, can I do next year's event? Absolutely. They already signed somebody in. About 8-9 years ago, my sister-in-law was getting married, so I thought I was going to be in the bridal party. I thought I was going to be.
She was going to ask you to be in.
Yeah, because my wife is the comadre, right? Her sister was the maid of honor, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm going to be the
groomsman.
Right, something. Even if I wasn't the best man, at least the groomsman. No. I'm like, okay. They're like, but we have a special role for you. I'm like, okay, I'm going to say a speech at the church. Thanks. Or something like that. But
you're a good Catholic.
Yeah, exactly. But instead, she said, so it's my sister-in-law Tanya and my brother-in-law Nick, they said, we want you to MC our wedding. And it was like a switch that flicked on in my system that has yet to be flicked off 10 years later. From the moment they asked me to MC their wedding, I literally started preparing material for the wedding.
Wow.
I never wrote anything down. In fact, I'll tell you this, for 25 years, I've never written a joke in my life, physically written.
You don't write anything down?
Never. I've never written a joke in my life.
It's all up here.
It's all in my head. I'm not that way. I literally tell it. So on the drive there, on the drive here, by the way, I was telling jokes to myself to practice for an event that I have coming up. That's what I did all the time, just constantly talk.
So preparation and practice.
Exactly. So the day of the wedding, by the way, they asked me a year and a half prior. So imagine for a year and a half, I was preparing jokes for this wedding. And it was jokes
So
about.
that's probably the most prepared event you've ever
You
emceed.
have no idea.
Year
You
and a
have
half.
no idea. It was just constant, and it was the best for me because I prepared heavily. I didn't skip a beat at that wedding. At one point during the wedding, I felt it was the Giuseppe the MC show with a couple who happened to be getting married
Wedding on the
that
side.
day. Yeah, and it was great, and it was something I wanted to do for my wife's family because I mean my parents were invited, but there wasn't, it was that side of the family, and it was kind of like a gift to them, this performance, and you still want to impress the family, even though I was already a few years married in with 2 kids, but it was just my thing, and then from there it was just. It was at that wedding. Sorry, somebody else had saw me at the wedding and said, "Hey, they wanted to say, can you MC?" And it was family, another cousin. So like, I'll do your wedding. And then on my 3rd wedding, within a year, I said, I have something here. I have a career.
The springboard was that wedding.
That's right.
People saw you, and then from there it just snowballed.
Exactly. So then the marketing side of me, the business side of me says, okay, I got to come up with a name. I got to come up with a business. I got to come up with business cards. I got to come up with all this stuff. And it just dawned on me, I'm going to be Giuseppe the MC.
Okay, perfect. Because I was just going to ask
Right.
you, how did you come up with Giuseppe the MC?
I was trying to figure stuff out. I was trying to say, okay, what name can I give myself that is going to be so obvious that I can be an MC? Remember, I didn't even think about being a comedian.
Right.
I thought about I'm going to start a business.
So you're thinking about your brand, your
That's
business
right,
brand.
that's right.
So Giuseppe the MC is the brand.
Right. And I knew that I was going to be a funny MC, but I was still going to be an MC. I will tell you that when I MC an event, there's the comedy side of it, but there's also the very professional side of it. An MC has to manage the entire event, tell the information, bring on the next speaker, keep organized. When you MC a wedding, you have to time everything out
You're
with
a
the
presenter.
food.
Like in Italy, presenters are a big
presentatore,
deal. MCs.
animatore, yes, that's right.
If you watch Sanremo or any of those,
That's
the
right.
presenter's the biggest role.
It is the biggest
The
role.
biggest role.
So I said, I got to give myself a name that everybody will remember.
Right.
And I remember writing it out and writing it out and writing it out. And I tried other names, but everything went to the first name that I put in my head was Giuseppe the
So
MC.
that was the first, and that's the one that stuck.
That's right. So that the night that I thought of this, I scoured the internet, and I tried to look for another Giuseppe the MC to make sure that it didn't exist. So I started registering my name I registered a website, GiuseppeTheMC.com. Then Facebook, Giuseppe the MC. Instagram. I didn't even have Instagram. I just wrote down and checked, and I said, I hope to God no one steals his name, because I didn't have it. I had an old, I had a BlackBerry at the time that didn't have Android features, so it was an old. I'm talking 10 years ago,
10
right?
years ago, yeah.
Anything that I could record. I was recording myself on Yelp, on anything,
So any social media platform.
anything that was on the internet, I registered it.
And that's forward thinking, because 10 years ago, really, things happen really fast in social media, but 10 years ago was not where we are today with social media.
That's
so
right.
you were forward thinking,
That's right.
registering all that stuff
That's
on those
right.
platforms.
And the mistake I made, though, is I wish I had registered shorter versions of it in case I needed to make a little change. Like, for instance, G the MC. I go by G the MC a lot. Some people can't say it.
Right.
Giuseppe, there's somebody out there named G the MC. So, okay, whatever. It's out there. I still use it, but I don't use it. But if I had known in advance, so if there's a lesson to anybody, if you see something, record, register everything you can. Spend the money. Who cares? Because this is your brand, and you want to protect it.
And you were investing in your future because you
That's
had
right.
a long-term plan. You knew it wasn't an overnight thing.
That's right.
That's
right.
amazing.
Yeah, it was that. And then I started to tell people the name. Hey guys, what do you think of this? Giuseppe the MC. And honestly, 90% of people told me I was nuts.
Because it's an Italian name?
Yeah.
Giuseppe?
So one thing was people saying you can't use your name because it's too Italian and no one's gonna hire you. I say no, but right now Italians are hiring me.
Right.
And my name is Giuseppe. I don't go by Joe. It's just not my thing.
Right.
And then there was
And you never did in high school.
exactly, yeah, I never did. And then there was the MC part. Like, what are you, a rapper? What are you? I don't get it. What about if you want to do other things? Now you're limiting yourself to this. I said, I know that. I go, but at least I have something, a code name that I can use, that I'm not using my last name. I'm using this code name that people can remember easier. And quite frankly, I'm the kind of guy who asks, but I actually don't want anybody's opinion.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So Dan Pena, who's a big business coach, says exactly what you just said. He says, I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt of myself.
That's right.
Okay, so if you're confident in yourself and your abilities, even if you're wrong, it's okay. It's the right decision.
Yeah.
And you did exactly that.
Yeah, and it was a lot. It was a lot of fighting people that were saying, Giuseppe, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But you know what? I was actually going to people for opinion that were not as successful as I wanted to be.
Okay, so that's an amazing lesson too.
Right.
In terms of associating with people who are either better or at a higher level than you in your industry, that's super important. And not taking advice from people who aren't at your level or below you.
That's right.
Whether it's in your industry or not.
Even though they mean well.
Right.
You know what? Not for nothing, but just sit back and watch the show.
There you go.
You know, like I had to develop that attitude. And that's it. And then, so I was emceeing weddings for free.
Right.
Then I said, okay, I have this business. I made business cards. I got a photo shoot done. I didn't look like this, by the way. I had a very clean, I was in a tuxedo.
I remember you had short hair.
Short hair,
I was at one of those weddings. That's where I first saw you.
And yeah, so it was, you still want to be the professional look.
Right.
And then I booked a wedding show. And I literally got a booth to myself. Giuseppe the MC, hire an MC for your wedding. And people walking by, they didn't even know what an MC was for a wedding.
So you pioneered this, because really here in Canada, there were no MCs for weddings. You were the first.
Yeah.
And when I seen you at this wedding, I'm like, an MC for a wedding? It was such a novel new idea. So you really broke ground.
Yeah, unless you were like a star that they had a guest MC.
That's right.
And so people were coming by in this wedding booth, and my voice got them in the room. So I was able to get people into the booth.
Right.
And I would tell people, you need me as your MC. We've never heard, the DJ comes with an MC. You don't want that guy.
Right.
You don't want that guy. You want me, because that guy's not going to give you what I'm going to give you. What are you going to give me? Is your MC going to go around to all the tables and serve everybody drinks and see how everybody's doing? Is your MC going to act as a host and welcome everybody as they're walking in one by one to shake their hands? Is your MC going to tell jokes tastefully at a wedding? Is your MC going to give an experience to your guests that when they leave, they say, man, that guy was the best thing I've ever seen in years?
So you're giving them added value that a DJ could never give.
Right, and I still tell you to this day, there's no MC in the world like me. I will tell you that 100%. No one does what I do, respectfully to everybody else in the industry, because they're all great people. They're great. They can speak well, just like comedians are funny, but they don't do the extra
and this is
what it
why
takes.
you're getting booked all over the world. I know you did a private gig in England over the holidays, and people are booking you everywhere because what you do is so unique and so amazing and so entertaining that people are saying, wow, we need this guy at our event. And it's evolved from weddings to corporate functions, massive fundraisers, and above and beyond what probably you even thought you were going to be able to do.
Right, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm boasting or anything like that, but I believe it in my heart. I'm convinced that I'm the best in the world for this industry. Don't put me on this field right now to play soccer, because I'm horrible at it.
I was going to get you a jersey after this.
Yeah, but it'll only fit right, possibly. But that's it. I'm not good at most things.
But
I'm
your thing.
Really good at what I do.
So you're saying specialize in something and do it well and try and be the best you can.
Exactly.
And that's what you've done, honing your skills over these 10 years.
Exactly. And so there was a point where I had to make a decision on when I was going to take this 100%.
Yeah.
Because I was working in the car business. I was earning a lot of money. I was financially set, but I was miserable.
So that was a safe bet for you.
Of course, it was a job. It was a career. It wasn't a hard job. I loved going to work in terms of the relationships I had with everybody, and it's a great job. But every time I got on stage, the day after and a week after, 2 weeks after, I was literally down, almost depressed, to the point where I'm like, I hate what I'm doing. I love being on stage. I couldn't wait for the next event. Thank God I had turned it into a business where I was getting booked a bit more often. So, but there was a point where it was interfering in the job that I was doing.
So you had to make a decision. So you were at a crossroads.
Right.
Do I leave the safe job and make sure that, you know, your family's taken care of because you got benefits, et cetera, et cetera,
Yeah,
you get paid
I had
every 2
everything.
weeks? Or do I go it on my own and be an entrepreneur, and I got to hustle, and I got to make my own paycheck, and I've got to book my own events, and I've got to sell myself.
That's right.
Which is so much harder than the easy,
Of
I don't want
course
to
it
say
was.
easy, but Monday to Friday was easy compared to going out on your own.
And people don't realize is that when you have a dream of doing something else, you're affecting your employer and everybody around them.
Right.
And so, you know, if I had an event this Saturday,
Yeah.
I was thinking about it from Monday, nonstop. So I wasn't focused on the job that I was doing.
Right.
I had to ask to leave an hour, 2 hours early on a Saturday so I can go to the wedding.
Right.
And so my employer said, hold on, I'm employing someone who has to do a job. And respectively so, I wasn't giving them 100%, and that's not right either. If you're doing a job, you got to give 100%, and I wasn't giving them 100%. And I appreciated my employer, and I said, look, I'm going to be making a decision very soon. I'm letting you know now that this is going to be coming. And I started asking them, hey, can I do this part-time?
Right.
I started giving them the opportunity to give me an opportunity.
1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Right. So I said, can I do this part-time? Can I work 3 days a week? Maybe I can just manage some things. Of course, I'm going to lose half of my income, but I have to pursue this, and I'm not giving you 100%. They're like, Giuseppe, look, fortunately and unfortunately, I was very strong at what I was doing as well. They're like, we need you here 100%. We need you here 100%. So that's when I had to start to make these decisions. But I contemplated this for about 5 years.
Wow, so it wasn't overnight.
No. I'll tell you when it was overnight. I had performed at my sister's wedding. When I say performed, I was supposed to do the brother speech.
Yeah.
And I had done a full-out 25-minute
Skit.
show about my mother and my brother-in-law and how much she loves him more than she loves me, kind of thing, right? Because, you know, he was the new boy, and we got to make sure that my sister gets married off, kind of thing, right? But, you know, make sure he gets the dowry, whatever, you know, the classic Italian way. And so I had performed this at my sister's wedding, and it was that moment that I decided that something had to be done because I had performed in Italian, and she had 700 people at her wedding.
Wow.
Literally.
So an old school Italian wedding, 700 people.
Exactly. Literally rolling. Like, it was nuts. And so I said, you know.
How'd your mother take that?
You know what? Because I've been making fun of my mom and my dad for years, they were just like, they get it. They get it. It's what makes me happy. And sometimes, you know, why did you have to do that? I go, Ma, come on. You think Sorosa's not like that or this lady's not like that? Yeah, but you're the one pointing it out. I know that. But believe me, they're respecting you more than you ever know because they realize that you are being the traditional mother, which, you know what? I hate to sound this way, but I wish more mothers were like my mother. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of great mothers out there, but really, I really wish everybody was like my mother because I know the love and respect that she gave me and my sister and everybody. And so, in that time, my dad was getting bothered a lot by people at the wedding saying, "We want the wedding video." And so, because we want to watch this act again, I said, "Okay, this is an act. People want to see me. Maybe I can get these people to come watch me at a show." I woke up one morning and I decided I wanted to do a comedy show. And I literally went from my computer. I went straight to the. So I woke up from the bed. I went straight to the computer, and I started looking at venues in Toronto. And I didn't know there were theaters, but I'm like, okay, you know, I don't want to spend too much money. I didn't know, like, you know, who would come out. I would have been happy with 100 people, right? It didn't matter to me, right? I just wanted to do something. And so I ended up booking a movie theater up here in Vaughan, who had a stage, a free stage.
Right.
And so I said, okay, it had 440 seats. I'm like, okay. They only wanted, like, with all the tech and everything, just about $2,000. Like, all right. I want to make the show cheap. I'm going to sell it for like $20. I just got to sell 100 tickets.
That's it.
Just break even. It wasn't about money. It was never about money. It was just let me break even. If I sell more, great. I put some money in my pocket. So within 2 weeks, I put a deposit. I design all my posters. I do all my own artwork. I design everything. And I put tickets online.
Yep.
And I also printed tickets, and I started selling the show like a stag, like, you know, a lot of stags in Toronto, which is not everywhere, by the way, but the GTS stags, you sell tickets for like $100, and, you know, people come, and you give a block of ticket here,
Sell
block of ticket.
table here, a table
Yeah,
there.
exactly. So this was a show at a theater. I said I gave 10 tickets here, 10 tickets there, 20 tickets to closer family, 80 tickets to my parents, 80 tickets to my mother-in-law. So I started selling the show in December. The show was in May. And, you know, December, I sold a few tickets. I'm like, oh, man, we're great. And then it was a little bit of a lull because it was Christmas time.
Yeah.
People were not focused on buying tickets for a show.
Right.
And I started asking my dad, have you started calling the family yet? Have you started selling tickets? No, we got lots of time. It's May. And I want me the store, but I don't want to bother them right now.
Anyone.
So I started I had no tickets myself.
You gave them out.
I gave them out to everybody. So I started taking from my dad. When I would sell 5 tickets here, 3 tickets there, people I knew, hey, you want to buy some tickets? Yeah, I just go to my dad. So then my dad got down to like 20 tickets. He hadn't sold one yet. You know, we're not going to bother them now. In the meantime, this crew that I had set out there, they started selling tickets. So I was lying online, telling people, guys, we're 50% sold out, we're 60% sold out, we're 70% sold out. We weren't.
But you were using scarcity to get people to think, hey, you know what?
Right.
You better get them quick before they're gone.
And I was doing that in January.
Right.
Well, what happened was people were messaging the people that knew they had the tickets because they saw that. Like, hey, do I still got tickets? So I got a call from my mother-in-law. It was January 28th. She goes, hey, do you got any more tickets? I'm like, what are you talking about? I gave you 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already sold them. I sold them to all the girls at volleyball and the bowling club and the paisans and the cousins. I need more. Okay, let me call some of the other people.
Yeah.
Calling one person. Hey, do you got any tickets? No, I sold them all. I was going to call you for more. Next person. I had 20 people. So those who had 10, those who had 20, whatever. And then they all sold them.
out.
So I had to go to my dad and steal those 20. And he's like, no, I got to call the cousins. I told my dad, I said, you're not selling anybody anything because you had your chance and you didn't sell them. So I sold this out.
Wow.
And that was 440 seats. And I exploded
Theater,
and I just got Instagram, by the way. So I was kind of posting all the great news. And then the theater called me and emailed me and said, listen, we're moving you to another room because you're that theater, it's being restructured into a new AVX theaters, a new way. And so we can't give you that room. So we're going to move you to a room that has only 396 seats and no stage.
Oh.
I said, hold on a second. I called them and said, what are you talking about? I sold out 440 seats. It's impossible. How did you sell this? They were telling me it was impossible.
They couldn't believe it.
They didn't believe it. I'm like, no, it's sold. Okay, we're going to give you 10% off. I go, you nuts? I go, I got this. I got a show.
You got this show. You sold
we'll give you a discount. It's not about the money.
Right.
It's these people. What am I going to do with them?
Right.
So I fought for 2 weeks with this theater. They were so sick of hearing me, they gave me the next night free.
No.
So I called 40 people. It was 44. I said, can I move you to another night? Yeah, it doesn't matter. We don't care. So I put another night on.
So you had 2 nights.
2 nights. And that one took a little longer to sell. But by the time the shows came in May, 2 shows sold out, 800 people.
Incredible.
And
all you on your own. This is a one-man team.
This is by
you
myself.
Put it all together.
I didn't spend a dime in advertising. The only money I spent was to print the posters.
Incredible.
And
that's an amazing lesson. Basically, with a shoestring budget, you were able to sell out 2 nights.
Yeah.
400 plus people each night.
Yeah.
And do it all on your own.
I don't think I spent $100.
Oh my God, what a business lesson that is.
And,
if you're a young guy out there and you say you can't do business with no money, you're completely wrong.
No. I will tell anybody and everybody, and I have been doing this for several years now. If you have an idea that you want to do a show or something, just call me. I don't want any money. I'll guide you. As long as you have the will to do it, I will help you because I want people to succeed in what they're doing. So I had done those shows.
And that's amazing of you. If anyone hears that offer and you're in comedy and you don't take them up on that, you're a sucker.
But it doesn't have to be comedy either. It could be anything.
Wow.
Anything in the world. I don't care. I want. It's like a pay it forward kind of situation.
Amazing.
I want to help somebody because I hope one day.
And you're big on that, helping people, because I see you doing all the charity work, the Rev It Up for kids. You're helping out all the time.
Yeah, it's
that's
great.
amazing.
It's a lot
Thank
of
you
fun.
for doing that.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate that. I had done those shows. And by the way, all that material that I'd done on stage, I hadn't showed anybody on it. I didn't even show my wife. She's like, "Can I at least see your act?" I'm like, "No, I can't. I don't want your opinion on what I'm gonna do." because I didn't want it to throw me off. I knew what I had was strong. Let me do it. I performed those 2 shows, and I handed in my resignation at work a few days later.
Wow.
And that's
so
it.
it was not an overnight success.
No.
Getting to sell out those 2 shows took you 10 years. So
Yeah.
again, another lesson. There is no overnight success.
No, there isn't.
There's a lot of hustle, a lot of hard work, preparation.
Yeah.
Getting to that point where you finally sold out the 2 shows.
The comedians that I follow, anybody you follow that's successful, it was an overnight success that took me 20 years. And everybody says he came out of nowhere, and no, he didn't. Or no, she didn't. Whoever it is, they worked hard. Every now and then you might get somebody who got lucky with a social media video or something like that. And we can I can tell you that social media got me around the world.
So that's where I want to get to next. The video you created for social media about your mother, the mother character, right?
Yes.
Your mother. It's amazing, first of all. My kids and kids all over, you connected with different generations because everybody could relate about Nonna or the mom, or everybody could relate. It blew up, that video.
Yes,
Tell me how that video came to be and where the idea of basically taking your mother's character and sort of not making fun of her but parodying her came to be.
So I had quit my job, and I had a lot of time on my hands.
Right.
A lot. So at that point, Instagram started to allow you to make 15-second videos. It had just come out. Before it was just photos.
Right.
Then they came up with 15-second videos. So I started to come up with little skits, nothing to do with my mom, but I just started coming up with what I thought was funny. I tried to actually be something that I wasn't. Said, I'm going to do some things. Then I had decided that I was going to start to tour locally, like Montreal, small drives, whatever. In the meantime, I said, how am I going to get people to know who I am?
Right.
So I started coming up with these Calabrese phrases of the day. I was actually inspired by another comedian who had done it, Frank Spadone, who did a Barès phrase of the day. So I said, you know what, I'm going to message him, see if it's okay first, and then shoot out a Barès phrase of the day. And so I did a Calabrese one, sorry. And so I had posted that video, and I was at 1,000 followers at the time, 1,500. The next morning, I had 38 new followers. I always remember the numbers, 38. I'm like, what? What's this? And then another one. Another 20, 30 followers, 40 followers. And people were commenting, who's this guy, who's this guy, who's this guy? And this went on for a few weeks. In the meantime, I had this idea to do a video about my mom. And so I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I had an outfit. If you've seen any of the videos, I wear this blonde wig. The blonde wig was my cousin's that I did disco parties, and it was I was like the blonde guy in the discos. And I had an apron. I said, okay, I'm going to shoot a video. So the first video I had ever done was my mother calls me and says, Giuseppe, you want to come here to eat? I'm like, oh, Ma, it depends. What are you making? She's like, pasta. Oh, Ma, I can't. The doctor said I can't eat pasta. Really not eat carbs, but I don't even know how to say carbs in Italian, so I just said pasta. And my mother,
is how you say carbs in Italian.
Yeah, got it.
Pasta.
Yeah, that's right. I'll pasta, not carb. I'll say carb, but what? And her response was, oh, you don't love your mother anymore.
Right.
I'm like, okay,
That's
Mom.
a typical
yeah,
conversation.
exactly. That was her thought. You don't love your mother
Calabrese.
anymore. So I had literally said, okay, I'm coming. So the whole thing was in Calabrese. I posted that video, and the next day on Instagram it had a good reaction, and on Facebook, it had 20,000 views.
Wow. Incredible.
And I'm like, what?
Incredible.
What is this? And then throughout the week, it had reached 100,000 views.
Wow. Critical mass. 100,000 is crazy for a local market. And
it was in dialect. It wasn't in English.
That's right.
And so then I'm like, okay, I got to make another one.
Yeah.
So I made another one. My mother giving me pasta, too much pasta. I said, take some out. She took out 2 grains of pasta and gave me the full plate back. I'm like, whatever. And that video hit 100,000 views in 2 days.
Incredible. So you blew up. Social media just exploded.
So that week that I released those videos was the week I went to Montreal. to go talk to people about booking a venue.
Right.
In the meantime, because these videos had gone semi-viral,
Yeah.
viral's like in the millions.
100,000
yeah,
for a Calabrese video
Yeah.
is mega viral.
yeah. So we'll call it Calabria viral.
That's it.
I started getting messages from people from Australia
Wow.
saying, "You speak like us. We don't know who you are. Will you come do a show here?"
Right.
Because they had seen my posters on Instagram from my previous shows, and they had saw that I'm going to
So
go.
social media basically exposed you to the world.
That's right. Social media, Instagram and Facebook, 3 years ago, and that's a critical information because 3 years ago the platforms were very open.
Yeah.
People were able to share easily, and word was getting out about this Giuseppe the MC. And
Because it's much harder today, so timing is critical.
timing
right?
it was critical. I will admit that if it was today's standard, it is a lot harder. But in today's standard, I have found new ways to get my message across. But
So there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly. Or we say, as if there's a WAP, there's a way, right?
That's true.
But at the time, word was getting out, and what was very important was that I was responding to everybody.
Okay.
Every single
So
message.
you're engaging. So there's constant
Engagement is very important. I was responding to every single text, every single message. I have
So
not.
You put in the time. You put in
That's
the time.
right. Well, I was free to do so, but it didn't matter. Night, day, I was always on my phone. My wife's like, "What are you doing? Who are you talking to?" Don't worry, babe. It's somebody in this country, somebody over here, somebody over there. And so, what I thought was just going to be a Montreal show ended up. I said to myself, "You know what? Screw it. Right now, everything is hot. I have to take this while it's hot. I cannot sit on this. I'm going to do a world tour."
Wow.
And I took my credit card and my other credit card and my other credit card, and I called all these venues that I started finding out in Australia, in Canada. I said, "How much do you want for a deposit? I'm booking these days.
So you
what do you think?"
self-financed your own world
Everything.
tour. All on your own dime.
By myself.
That's a massive risk. So
Yeah.
no risk, no reward. You're proof right
Thousands of dollars, literally deposits. And I went to work every day, making new videos, telling everybody about my shows, calling people in Australia, "Hey, you're a fan? I need your help. I need your help. You got to tell people I'm coming."
here. Right.
Because you can't sell a show by yourself. You can orchestrate it by yourself,
need a
but you
network
need
of
a
people.
team. You need people. You need people that believe in you. And that has been the biggest thing is I've had supporters. I don't try to make everybody happy, but I try to make sure that the content I give them makes them happy.
Sure.
If that means anything. I try to keep my content, I do keep my content very clean, so I know that people can bring their parents and they can bring their kids. It was very important to me, as long as they understood the dialect, because I
Right.
couldn't move away from that. And I pushed, and I pushed, and I pushed, and I went live on social media, on Facebook,
Facebook Live.
almost every day. I came up with this term, building an audience. I was always building an audience everywhere. And people were telling me, "Hey, Giuseppe, are we building an audience?" So I knew it was clicking. It was my tag word. It was my line and whatever. I kept doing more videos constantly. Make sure I release something every day.
Kept
Content is very
compounding.
important. Content is very important. You have to put stuff out all the time. People, they love you and they'll hate you instantly.
Yeah, easy to forget.
Easy to forget. You got to constantly put stuff. And I'll tell you a little bit later how I suffered on that when I stopped putting content.
It's all about the game and how you play it. It's all about control. And if you can take it, it's all about your debt. And if you can pay it, it's all about pay. And who's gonna make it?